Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Craft Eccentricity. And I hope everyone's going to have a wonderful day. I thought I'd talk about something different today. So we're not going to craft. I'm actually going to share something with you that I started 2 years ago and I still haven't finished. And there's a lot of crafters out there that kind of feel guilty about having a huge heap of unfinished projects. Now, I must admit, I don't have a huge heap of unfinished projects, but there are certainly things that, I sort of like gin up the mojo to do, and I'll have a quick burst, or I'll have a burst over a month or two, and then I'll put it down for a year, and then I'll pick it up again. And it's okay to do that. Really, it is. If you're on burnout on a particular subject, then you will burn out on that particular subject. And so sometimes it's just nice to put stuff down, store it away nicely, and then go back to it when you're ready and pick it up again. So I want to show you something that I started 2 years ago and I still haven't finished. And I'm absolutely okay with that. And I think what I might be doing with it, sort of like going into next year, is I want to develop a garden journal. And so what I created a couple of years ago can become the basis for that. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. The pages that I made and just stored away. And just to tell you that it's absolutely fine. If you don't complete something, it is fine, because the pleasure is in the process. Right, let's begin. So here's the first part of a book that I made a couple of years ago. And I love wildlife and I love flowers and I do love gardening, and I've got my veggie patch. And this was all bits and pieces, and I wanted it to look vintage style. So you'll probably recognize some of these die cuts. But I did an acetate window on this, and I actually cut down into my Dollar Tree foam board, and then I painted it. I painted those lucky 4-leaf clovers into the corners, and just wanted to kind of, I don't know if my camera's picking that up, because it is quite 3D and of course highly reflective. But when you flip it over, I didn't finish the back. So you've still got the raw washi tape there. And that's okay, because, eventually I am going to decorate it. So that was the front cover, and that's where making a few pages began. So if you can see all these brown stains here, that's just the acetate sort of dibbled and dabbled with some alcohol ink, and then painting the 4-leaf clovers over the top of that. So there's one bit. And then you kind of like get into making a few decorative mats and little bits and pieces that you think you might want to stick in there. So there's a bit of stamping and colouring that I did. And it's just one of those things that may have taken an hour or two. And I just sat down and enjoyed it. So it's another element that's going to go into that. And then here's one which may not be to everybody's taste, but I kind of quite like it. And it's a crow. And I put a crown on her head, and she's got a little bird cage in her hand, and I just put on there, I should be wild and free. And underneath the feathers that I made her skirt with, she's got sort of like butterflies and nasturtiums, if you want to take a peek. So, it's kind of, it's one of those things. A lot of people, I think, might consider it weird, but I just find it interesting. And yet again, another thing that I spent an hour making, and she's got a little butterfly closure on her top there. So I just kind of like the idea of the bird holding the bird cage because she's not in there. So, that's another thing that I made. And to the back of that, I can put gardening notes on there. Obviously, that is not finished yet, but I can put that down on a sheet of cardstock. I can trace an outline all the way around that and then glue that on the back so that it's nice and tidy. And I could probably have some little notes on flowers or seeds that I planted that year. And then another one I did, this was probably a 20 or 30 minute go, because, sometimes that's all the time that you've got. And so you just have a quick burst of creativity. And I do have to create every day. And I've said that many times. I just have to. It's just one of those things. And so, you know, this is really quick. I just stamped and cut out a couple of little acetate bottles, went over it with a paint marker, painted a couple of stars, popped a little fairy in the top, and a little dandelion wish flower. And then I've got my cardstock, and I've done stamping, done, you know, white paint pen again, little stitches around the edges and a bit of colour. And that was just, you know, a quick go at something. And then once again, a little vintage photograph as a mat and a layer, and I've used flowers again. So maybe deep down, you know, I kind of thought that that's where I was going to end up, making it into my garden journal. And then you've got this beautiful cardstock, which I think this one is Panalisa from one of her lace packs. So once again, you know, using your elements. And then I found some stickers that I'd bought quite a long time ago, and decided to stick those on this one. So I've got those lovely little sort of like potion type bottles, and that botanical foliage again. The back is blank, which means I can cut a piece of white cardstock if I want to, or print out some vintage lined paper, and I can put garden notes onto the back of that. And then we get into the pages. This was when I had a bit more oomph and I was doing the pages, and I used labels. I don't think you can get these anymore. These are really vintage, and they may be 15 or 16 years old. And these are Tim Holtz when he first started bringing out his, is it his ideology? It might be. So anyway, you know, cutting out a couple of doilies using distress ink. I've got this here. I've cut up little bits with a label punch so that they hold things in place. I've got this here, which I glued down, but if I flip that up, it becomes a holder, so I can put something under there if I want to, or I can just tuck it straight back under those. So I was kind of like cutting the little bits and pieces and just inking them. This is a stamp set from AliExpress. So all of the bumblebees and the ladybirds, and then I stamped them within a film strip. So just got totally carried away with that. And then on the reverse of it, I made a pocket, and I've got a butterfly and some greenery. So, you know, I've got a place here that I can write dates and notes on. And then maybe just a half an hour doing some embossing, you know. I stenciled it through with embossing ink, and then I put my embossing powder on it. And I decided to mix up the embossing powders and just get that really crazy looking Harlequin design. But I quite liked it, and I enjoyed the process. And here's another one where I've stamped and coloured a rose and used a lot of distress ink. And I think this is antique linen and burlap. It probably is, as I say, quite a while ago. And then I was going to stick a little card with it, so I just left it like that. And I can put notes on this black sheet that I cut out. And I just used a corner rounder punch, you know, just to sort of like give myself the idea of getting things ready. So there was that one. And then this one has got another tab, and all of these tabs cascade down. And that one's just got Imagine on it. And then kind of a spring page because it's nests and it's eggs. And I've cut that piece out, and I think I put all kinds of like crackly stuff onto that. So I've got like little bits of texture. I've used that tab punch again because I really liked it. And then I did some more stamping and playing around here and created a pocket. So once again, you know, you get the feeling of the garden, little sentiments and little butterflies, and I've got tabs that I can write little notes on, like, you know, I sowed my carrots on February the 13th or something. And then just another little piece of ephemera. And then I stamped and coloured that one in. So once again, I can add notes onto the back. And then another one. This time I cut a frame and I've got the word dream there, and I put a piece of bird paper behind that frame, inked it up, and that would have been, another night of messing around where I probably spent an hour. And then I did a corner piece with a piece of ephemera. You can just fussy cut it out so it will fit into a corner. And then, just stuck other little pieces in here. I've got little labels that can have notes. I've got another little flap that lifts up. Just more little tags. And just had a load of fun doing them. Like that one, I don't think is quite finished yet, but I've got all my bird cages and stuff up there. I stamped this one and coloured it in. So I did that one. And then this one, the tab says live. And we've got butterflies, wildflowers, this all done on watercolour paper, watercoloured in. So that was probably an evening of playing around. And then flip it over, I've got a couple of little envelopes that I put there, and I've got other little bits of ephemera which are just big enough once again to write a couple of notes onto, and you can pop those in. You can close your envelope down if you want to, but I just kind of like left mine up and those bits up to remind me that I've got something that I can scribble a few notes on, create, and memories. So as I said, planning what's going in the garden. And then one day I decided I was going to get a bit pink and silver. So I did some vintage pink, tied it in with the paper, another piece of ephemera stuck down. I used up some glitter washi tape that I got from Tuesday morning. And on this one, I've used Laugh because, I don't know, I just thought the colours were light and airy. And so laughing would be a good thing. And then, I had a little bit more time and I decided to do some little fold outs. I've got these little crystal clips on here, and I think you can actually get those on AliExpress as well. But I made them all the same, and basically they just fold out so that if I took pictures in the garden, put it that way, then I could stick them on the back of there, or notes or anything, and all three of those will fold and flap out. So that would have been another evening of fun. And then I decided to do one that was hope, and I've got a rabbit on that. So, likely to put kind of Easter notes or autumn notes onto that one. But once again, it's all flowers. And I decided, because I've got my washi on that one, that I was going to use silver onto this one. And just inking again and cutting out that background frame and inking that. And then if I flip that one over, I've got more envelopes stuck onto that page. I used one of those, I don't know what those are called, Tim Holtz. I don't even know if you can get them anymore. They're like ring labels, and you put an image in and you put it in a punch and squish it down, and your image gets stuck in there. But another place I can put seeds or anything in there, bits of ephemera inside of that one, and lots of flowers once again. And then this one is the last page, and this one is called Discover. And it's got darker pieces of ephemera. I've kind of stuck with the silver, because I like turning the pages over. And then we've got this lovely, lovely indigo blue and cobalt. So we've got all those gorgeous colours going on there. Not a lot of room there, but I could still, write a few notes and use those lines. But when I flip that one over, you can see I've used 3 of those labels to put images in. And I don't know if my camera's going to behave. There we go. And so I've used eggs, I've used that image of a man, I've got the insects, I've got the leaf paper behind, and then that is one of Tim Holtz's 3D impress lits. So I understand all of these are being retired. And then I had a daffodil craft die from AliExpress, and it is still one of my favourite daffodil dies. And that's just on watercolour cardstock, and then I've watercoloured it. Another frame here from AliExpress, a little bit of stamping onto that vintage image because I just thought it was sweet. And I also stamped the dragonfly, and then behind there I've just done an embossed piece. Also got a little piece of lace going on behind there, so you can just kind of like build up all of your layers. And she kind of sits nicely in that back pocket, so that goes down inside of there. So that is what I've got for you today. I just wanted to share with you some of the things that I kind of get up to, in my spare time, but they take a while because, I'll just have a quick burst of an hour or two. But then after a couple of years, you find you've got a whole bunch of something that you can use, and the whole thing will start to come together. Right. I thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're all enjoying your Christmas shopping and it's not too cold for you. Right. Have a wonderful day. And as usual, all links below. Bye.